Welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. We're joined by Jordan.
In case I don't see you, good morning, good evening, and good night.
Close.
I took my wife's.
And we're also joined by Jordan's wife, Tatiana.
Well, he said it wrong. It's good morning. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Oh, I stand corrected.
But also there's some other good quotes like...
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you even talking? Are you even listening to me?
Oh, I like it.
I love that one moment when it's like, because Jim Carrey plays a very dramatic role, but then there's that one moment when he's in the car and he's like, blah! He like gets crazy.
It's like Ace
and you're
Ventura.
like, that's the Jim Carrey I know.
Yes.
Yeah, very much like the normal Jim Carrey. I know, it's so weird seeing him in such, it's kind of like Adam Sandler and, what's it called?
Uncut Gems?
Uncut Gems,
or
yes.
Punch Drunk Love?
Both. But yeah, so as you guessed, today we're talking about The Truman Show. So The Truman Show was made...
Well, he's also like, he plays, Jim Carrey also plays like this in The Majestic, right?
Yeah, Majestic's more serious.
Have you seen that one, Cameron?
No.
I've seen it once and I don't remember it. Okay.
We watched it a few times growing up. I love that one too.
I gotta watch that again.
His worst film.
It's the same director of the Schindler's List. Sorry, not Schindler's List. Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, nice.
I hope I didn't say Schindler's List on the last episode. Whoops. Sorry, everybody.
Awesome. Well, Truman Show was released in 1998. It's directed by Peter Weir. Writer was Andrew.
Oh, my boy, Peter.
Andrew Nicole, and it stars Jim Carrey, Ed Harris, Laura Linney, Noah Emmerich, Natasha McCauley, Holland Taylor, Brian DeLate, and a bunch of other people.
Oh, dude, his wife. I mean, is she not the most perfect, like, fake smile lady ever?
Yeah, she's so creepy.
That list didn't even include Paul Giamatti.
Oh, Paul Giamatti, baby.
That guy.
Oh, yeah.
But he's a smaller role, and it's before he got big. Cameron, were you even born in 1998 yet?
I was not.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Okay, keep going.
Well, did you see this in theaters? Like, I think you were a baby, right?
I just remember seeing it like within a year or two after it came out. My uncle recommended it, and my dad always didn't like my uncle's movie recommendations. And so we dragged our feet a little bit, but then we saw it and we all loved it and bought it.
So good.
VHS, baby.
I think this was a movie we didn't grow up with. Like, we didn't own it. I did see it when I was younger because we borrowed it from somebody's, maybe the Gibbs.
I never saw it until high school when you showed me.
Yeah, we didn't own it until then I realized, like, how... And as a kid watching it... Oh, I don't mean to get right into it.
No, we can start. Yeah, Jordan, what was it like watching it for the first time and rewatch it for the pod?
As a kid, when I watched it, I was just like... Because I also had seen all the comedies that Jim Carrey had done, you know, Liar, Liar, Ace Ventura. And so seeing...
Cable Guy.
And Dumb and Dumber. Well, I actually hadn't seen Cable Guy until just recently. Well, I mean, recently as in 10 years ago, but... Very recent. But as a kid, I had never seen it. So I'd seen his comedies, and then I had seen this, and I just remember being like... I loved it, but it was nothing like his other movies. And as a kid, it's just interesting because watching it now as an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it has a whole different meaning. And I love seeing it now because I put it in my top 100, and I believe it's now in my top 10. Yeah, favorite movies of all time. Just love.
Only number 3.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. Like, oh my gosh, just that opening shot when just that music comes in and he's like, we've come tired reality TV and just watching the same old thing. And I love that. And it just, that piano music, and Peter Weir just knows how to like set a mood. And just because if you watch Dead Poet Society, it just has that very, I don't know if stoic's the right word, but you kind of feel that, like, you know, that when Robin Williams gets
somber.
Yeah, and Robin Williams gets really quiet, seize the day. And I love that because I just feel like there's a certain mood and tone to this film where, you know, Jim Carrey, you just feel like the world he's living in, it's almost too perfect. Something out of an old, like, I Love Lucy or Dick Van Dyke Show. And I mean, it's kind of like what a lot of people are watching now, which is WandaVision, right?
I'm delayed to realizing that. Keep going.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that's why you enjoyed WandaVision.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, but I feel like the WandaVision gets a bit darker, like with the whole idea that there's like people in that society that
being forced, yeah.
Yeah, and the people on the outskirts of the city, like just sitting there frozen forever and not doing anything, like that would be heck. Oh my gosh, that'd be horrible. But in this society, though, it's like they're being paid, and it's so interesting though that they decided like as extras, like that they were never told, like if he does something out of the ordinary, like obviously they're supposed to report it to the director, but like to not like do anything. Like I love how like, but it works for this film because they're in this society, like they're all like kind of like robots. Not, I don't know if robots is the right word, but they're like extras in movies where they're not supposed to interact or do anything. Like that one girl's like, I'm not supposed to talk to you.
Yeah, no,
like, oh,
one of my
pretty scary guy.
Yeah, I love the scenes where they have to like interact or whatever sometimes with, like when he runs into the extras and they're kind of just like, what do I do? Like the people in the elevator just give him the look of like,
yeah, and they're in their break, like eating, and they're like,
yeah.
And then that other extra that comes into the space and turns around and acts like it's an elevator and just acts like she doesn't see what's going on behind her and she's like sweating bullets.
Yeah.
Remember that? The one that was in costume and they said they must have told her in her earpiece, like, go in there, act like it's an elevator.
I love the people too in the hospital when they're like trying to stop him, like everybody, like the guy in the wheelchair is like trying to block him before.
Or the creepiest part when they're actually about to like perform surgery on somebody when they're not even. It just reminded me of Catch Me If You Can. It's like, do you concur?
Oh yes.
I concur.
Oh my gosh. And when somebody drops a can and the girl like sits up and they like push her down and like put the oxygen on her.
Yeah, the person that's supposed to be
sedated,
completely knocked out, ready for surgery is.
Because she thought he was gonna like actually cut her.
Cut her open. Yeah. She's like, I'm not getting paid enough for this.
Yeah.
Well, that's literally what the wife said.
Yeah, I can't work under these conditions. And then Tatiana, what was it like for you watching for the first time and rewatching for the pod?
So I've told this to Jordan before, but I guess I was a very self-centered child, and I had this theory, and I thought it was most likely not true, but at the same time, I was like, I don't have a way of proving that it's not true. I had a theory when I was like 4 years old, before I saw this movie, that maybe the world, like everyone is just acting and it's just a test for me. And whenever I leave a room, they're like, okay, we don't have to act anymore. And like, it's all just centered around me. And then I watched this movie and I'm like, that's what I was thinking. But like, I didn't go so far as to think of a premise of, oh, it's a TV show and like it's a regular person that
I'm glad you didn't catch
created it and is controlling it. I think it was more of like maybe God works that way and this world is just for me and everyone else is just an actor that he has employed.
Yeah, Jordan's getting paid good money to be your husband.
Anyways, and then watching it most recently, it was fun because I watched it with Jordan, and wasn't it the movie that we watched our very first night in our new apartment?
The second movie, The Burbs, was the first.
The Burbs was the first. Okay, yeah. So, but it was still.
We watched it on VHS.
Yeah,
half of it.
We watched.
And then you wanted to finish it in VHS, and I'm like, why? It's so much better quality.
Well, because when we first got here, we didn't have the Wi-Fi set up yet, so we couldn't watch things except for on my VHS player or DVD player, but we chose VHS because that's cooler. And so we watched The Burbs, and then we started Truman Show, but then we got the Wi-Fi, and I just thought it'd be fun to finish it on VHS.
I mean, it was okay when we didn't have Wi-Fi, but oh my gosh, in 4K, are you kidding me?
A little different.
Yes, and the video and audio, oh my gosh, like it's so much fun to see a movie in the way that a director intended you to, like how he had intended to film it and stuff. So, oh my gosh, and this movie is very well done. Like Cameron, did you notice like there's certain shots that you can tell, like they purposely make it look like it's being shot on a camera, like hidden cameras in certain locations. It's so cool.
Yeah,
and it totally sets the, like, obviously the mood, but also like it kind of feels like, oh, this is a TV show. Like they have all these hidden cameras.
Yeah, which is, some of them are my nitpicks. I'm like, some angles, I'm like, I'm not sure how you got that shot, but.
Also, I will say it was really fun hearing Jordan's reactions as we were watching it, because he would comment several times on like, oh, it's so terrible. Like just the fact of what they were doing to him, just keeping him,
manipulating him.
Well, it's funny that
prisoner.
Didn't bother you, because we were watching Midnight Mass and you're like, oh, that's so horrible. I can't believe how she's acting. And then in this show, you're like, I don't see the big deal. Like,
well, here's the thing. I do see the big deal. I totally do. And that's something that's different about watching it now as an adult versus when I was little. But at the same time, I'm still just like, it's like this slow process for me to realize that, because when I first saw it, I was like, this is cool, because this is the idea that I had in my head. And it's just taking a while for
Nothing
me
messed up or sadistic about this at all.
It's just taking a while for me to remember, like, or to really get it stuck in my head of like, well, this is actually pretty cruel that they're doing this to this guy.
Well, it's because if you watching it, you know, Cameron, the question was the first time and now, and seeing it many times after is all the little details of them manipulating him and essentially like forcing him to think a certain way. It's like the guy, even on the television, hey, you don't need to have, you know, go anywhere else. Yeah. Home is right here. Like, it's just like
no one is poor who has friends.
Yeah. Yes, word for word, verbatim. And then the other part too, when the guy on the radio is like, "You're not planning on flying anywhere, right?" He's like, "Nope." That's good. It's just like so manipulative and making him like, they're trying so hard. And even Jim Carrey said it at the end, and I guess I didn't catch it the first time, but him saying, "You could never get her out of my head." And he was just telling him like, you know, "You tried so hard to make me forget her, but I never was able to." And I guess that goes into my only little nitpick is like, do we believe even if he met her, like they only exchanged like one or two.
Oh yeah.
Like
such a Hollywood romance.
Yeah.
Fall in love after a couple hours.
Yeah. It's like, you know, you haven't really spent.
Remember her for the rest of his life.
Yeah. You know, maybe spend a lifetime with him and find out, oh, she's not as special as I thought, you know.
But Cameron, did you do your experiences watching it first and now?
No. So the first time. So this movie is like, I've always thought this movie is very impressive. For me, this movie is the best on the first viewing, similar to A Beautiful Mind, which I don't want to spoil that one, but The Beautiful Mind, just once you, like after the first viewing, like the first viewing is so special. And so that's how this movie was for me. Me and Jordan watched this for the first time I ever saw it. And I just remember flipping out, especially at the scene where she's like, "Somebody help me." I was like, oh, fat dude, this is definitely like, I'm like, this is definitely some like scheme or something. I'm like, he's in like some fake world.
Well, it's crazy because like the opening scene, they tell you what it is, but if for some reason it's not until it like unravels and then they have that like guy interview him and he tells him this is a show and that we're watching.
Yeah.
The Truman Show, because it's so interesting that it like it's not till that point that you're like, oh, like because. You never know. It might be like, what was the other one where you're just like, oh, maybe it's just showing sequences of people being interviewed about his life later on, like they did in Interstellar.
Like Bernie? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's just things like that I was like, what the fuck? This is so insane. So, yeah, the first viewing, I loved it because it just like, I felt like that eerie feeling really like stood with you because I was very uneasy of like, oh, I don't know what's going on.
Did it blow your mind as much as Donnie Darko? I don't think so.
No.
You were like shaken after that.
It was up there. Yeah, that was the most shook I've ever been from a movie. But then rewatching it, I actually watched it about a year ago with my roommates. I was surprised I still really enjoyed it on the second viewing. And then rewatching for the podcast today, I was just very impressed. It's just super well done. I think the music's really beautiful and like just it raps. That's the thing that I think is most impressive that I don't think Beautiful Mind does as well as Truman Show does for like.
It's a better rewatch. Like, yeah.
Just
because A Beautiful Mind, after you know the twist, it's like, oh, this is a different movie.
Yeah. And like, it's still good, but it's just not the same as like this one. It's just I feel like you can relate and kind of get along with and like cheer for Truman more than you can cheer for Russell Crowe in Beautiful Mind.
Does it kind of remind you of Equilibrium a little bit, Cameron?
I barely remember Equilibrium. All I remember is that scene where he's kicking those guns.
Okay. Might have to rewatch that one.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that movie. But yeah, rewatching it, I was very, very impressed. It's still like a really good movie. I still think the first watch is the best watch though. And then that's just going into two of my favorite things. I think my first favorite thing about the Truman Show is I just love the whole kind of like Jordan's probably going to talk about too, as well as like the mood and the eeriness of it. It's because I feel like there's a lot of different ways, especially with an actor like Jim Carrey, you could have gone like kind of the comedic route of having a movie like this, but having like undertones of comedy with like the overtone of like eeriness, I think just works really well because then it just makes you feel even more uncomfortable because of all the forced humor and then the random product placement that I'm like, dude, something's not right. It's like fresh cocoa beads from what's it called? I'm like, what's happening?
Or that's a beer.
No, that's a beer. Yeah, and so things like that I just think just work really well and just kind of sets the mood of like what is happening. And then honestly, that's my second favorite thing about the rewatch is I kind of loved the moment where like the director kind of lost it, where he felt like he was being challenged by his creation, and so he was willing to like almost kill him to like win which I thought I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. I forgot about that in the first, or from the second viewing. But yeah, the director's fetching psychopath. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, he is so good. I mean, have you seen The Abyss, Cameron?
I think maybe when I was younger.
Okay, he's really good in The Abyss too. Like, I just love, because he gets very passionate in that movie too at a certain part. He's very like controlled up into a certain point where somebody tips him over the edge and then he kind of loses it. I just love how much this works, because it's very interesting, like the scenes that he chose to show the audience, like watching in and looking at the show, because like the scene when he meets the dad, it's so interesting that he chose that like really special moment that he met his dad to be the moment that you saw them seeing that special moment, and it kind of takes you out of it, and you're like, oh shoot, like not out of the movie, but out of the TV show they're creating,
to not get like scammed of like, oh, this is such a sweet moment, because you realize this is disgusting because it's being used.
But
to
I
just,
actually
like, please
almost
the
get
crowd.
emotional because of like how much love and passion this director put in, and I'm just thinking Peter Weir standing right behind his camera, telling him, all right, now this is the scene, and he's like, all right, so we're closing it up in on him, and then the music comes in right now, and then it's just like, because he keeps that wide shot for a long time, and then finally he zooms in, and I just love that, because it's almost meta in a way. It's like, you know, the director directing a movie within his movie.
Yeah, I've always thought that's such a hard line to work with. That's the same thing with like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and movies that do that, and like Bewitched. Like those movies are crazy to try to work, like show a movie being filmed, you know, while making a movie
within a movie. Yeah. Well, and in Tropic Thunder he did that too, because it was Ben Stiller directing and he was acting in it, and he was directing a movie within that movie, and so it was like when he would say action, they're like, oh, are you saying in the movie, like are we recording now, or are you saying action in the show? So it's just crazy. It's fun. But okay, so yeah, I love, oh my gosh, there's so much I love about this movie. I guess I could just say that I love Jim Carrey. I can't believe like how amazing his performance is in this movie, because I've seen his comedies and I love those, and I can't remember if he made my top 10 list of my top 10 favorite actors. If he didn't make it, he was like right up there, really close to my top 10, is because of this performance, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And I haven't seen Man on the Moon, so I feel like I missed out on another great performance, but I want to. I've seen the documentary that he made of it, which is really good on Netflix, but I just think him as a dramatic actor, he's so good. Like, I mean, because he does such an amazing job in his comedies. Like, I love them all. But seeing this, like, oh my gosh, like I just get the feels for him, and I really feel like he just embodies this character so well. Like, he is Truman, and personally I think it's his best role. But I mean, I still have to watch Man on the Moon, so maybe I'll change my...
I think he should do a TV series about the Truman Show and have to live in it.
But
if I have to pick two favorite things, I'd say one, it's pretty broad, but I just love the premise. I think it is so creative, and I think it's executed so perfectly. It's like if someone had like a TV network had adopted a child and raised it in front of cameras without
the first TV network to legally adopt.
Raised it in front of cameras without the kid knowing that he's being filmed.
Do you watch Community?
Yeah.
When the guy legally changes his name to Subway?
Oh, yeah. But like if someone had done that, this is such a good depiction of how that would go. And then I guess my second, and it's just such a...
I feel like there would be a little bit more backlash, especially today now, though.
It wouldn't have flown today. People would have been like, free him! But actually forced them to free him. But it's such a creative, innovative idea I guess you guys are right. You mentioned some other movies that kind of have similar-ish, well, not themes, but just like, I don't know. Well, I just think it's really unique. Anyways, second favorite thing, I love seeing Truman discover things, but just piece by piece. That's really fun for me. Every time, like, for example, when he sees the wedding photos and notices that the wife has her fingers crossed, or, sees his dad.
That doesn't work legally, right?
No.
Like, is it just doing that because she's like trying to say legally in like the real world, I'm not married to him, or what?
I think she's just trying to say in her heart she's not married, even though she probably did have to get legally married.
Yeah, because it seems like, I mean, I did that as a child. Like, that was something you would do. You're like, oh, I had my fingers crossed behind my back, so I was lying.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. It's just, like, it was a clever thing to do, but it just seemed more like a childish thing to do. But she was a child.
And now that I think about it, I bet you that they didn't actually use a real person that had authority to, perform a legal marriage, and they probably didn't use the right words and stuff. But still, they have control over his world, so they probably made him believe that it was real, so that this actress could still live her own life outside of. I don't know. It gets really iffy and shady there as far as.
Well, yeah, because that's like my question is like, did she have a life outside of that, or is it like?
I assumed that she went off and had her life during the day when she was quote unquote at work, but all of her nights she spent with him. So
that would make sense.
Yeah. It's weird. But yeah, I just love seeing him discover it and put the pieces together bit by bit. But I love how the movie makers didn't just throw it in his face, that it was just slowly. And even when he saw the dad, of course, all of the TV network people, and the director, especially that director character, of course, thought of a genius way to explain that away. And
oh, what was it? Amnesia? He's like, genius.
I also love when he's looking at the photo album, and he's like,
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, that was when we went to Mount Rushmore.
It's like, they look so small.
Yeah, he looks
They
so
usually
small.
do.
Yeah, they usually do. Switch it real quick. Turn the page real quick.
Oh, that was the other manipulative thing that grandma did, or his mom did, which was tell him your father was an only child, and I don't blame you for what happened to your father. And it's just like and the other moment I loved, that the friend, when he's sitting there, Cameron, and he's like if everybody's in on it, that means I'd have to be in on it too, and I'm not in on it. And you could see the moment when he tells him, the director's telling him what to say, and you can see it seems like it's hurting him a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He's like, this is,
because he's like I'm not lying to you, and it's like, and he just flat out lied to his face.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it just seems like it's hurting him.
Yeah, you're like, am I like past the point of no return?
Yeah, well, and the mom, she even says he was an only child, and she looks down, and I'm like, oh, lady's lying.
Yeah, they're manipulative as fuck.
And Cameron, I love the quote you said, the Coco, and it's, try this new Mococo, and and he's like,
what
who are you talking to?
That was one of my favorite scenes. Who are you talking to?
Oh my gosh.
What are you even talking about? He goes, are you even listening to me at all? He just starts like losing it on her.
And Cameron, and I love when he's like getting really intense to her, and he's like, what are you gonna do? Slice me? Dice me? There's so many choices. Yeah. And he grabs her.
Somebody do something.
I love that. And then he's like, who are you talking to? And he just like, yeah, oh my gosh, so good. The show. And then there's so many good moments in this show when he like looks at the camera and he's like, he's gone. And then they cut the transmission. Yeah. And then I love the guy that comes in, one of the producers, and he says, he's like, they got him looking like a total A in front of the camera, and they got it on reruns.
Yeah.
And they're playing it everywhere. There's so many little good moments in this show that as I'm rewatching it, I'm like, oh my gosh.
It kind of reminds me too a little bit of Cabin in the Woods, of like dealing with all like the upstairs like media problems and stuff.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, trying to manipulate and make sure it happens a certain way. Yeah. Or how things start to kind of slip up, like the not opening scene, but pretty early on when the light falls from the sky, and then they try to explain it away. Oh, it was an
airplane.
It was an airplane. Parts passing by. My other favorite explanation, but right before it happens, when he's in the car and he can hear everything they're saying through his radio, and all of a sudden it's like he's turning left on the street, and then he's like looking at the street, and all of a sudden there's a lady in the middle of the street. He's like, oh my gosh! He almost hits her. And the guy on the camera, oh my gosh! All of a sudden they switch the radio back, and the guy's like, we must have picked up a police frequency, and it's like, what?
Yeah, especially when and everyone puts their hand over their ear, and you're like,
yeah,
what the fudge?
Yeah, and then when he like hits the guy in the back of the butt, like that extra should have known. He should have said something like, hey, what was that for? But he just stands there and just like goes back to working.
Yeah, the actor probably froze, like it's one of those like, oh, no, what should I do? It's too late now. I took too long to decide. I have to just keep acting like nothing, no reaction.
But yeah, such a good show.
It is amazing. There's just a couple nitpicks I have. One, my biggest nitpick is like the fact that he fell into the water and then magically learned how to swim in a couple seconds to get back to the boat. I would like, all they should have done is just have him always be hanging onto the boat, or like by the mast or something. Just always have like connection to the boat. It's because
I don't think he can't swim, Cameron, because when he was younger, I don't think swimming wasn't a problem. It wasn't until his dad drowned that he hated the ocean. It's not that he couldn't swim.
Oh, he was taught how to swim, I guess.
Yeah, when he was younger.
Okay, I guess I'll let that one slide then. But
He just hates the water. Sorry, I love this film. I'll protect it till I die.
there's a couple of scenes too that I'm like, there's no way they got that angle. Like, for example, when he's running through the hospital, they give the POV camera where it's like, oh, we're following right behind him. But I'm like, he would have noticed somebody running right behind him in the hospital.
Well, I mean, but everybody is like trying to get in his way and stop him.
But he would have looked at the person. I see your point, Cameron.
Yeah, there's a couple shots that I was like, And plus, like, logically, I was just like, I don't know, maybe that's just because I'm like, I can't speak English. I'm suspicious of people. I would have thought it was like a little strange that people do the exact same thing every single day.
Try strange when people just randomly pick up his dad and take him onto the bus. Like,
yeah, I'd be like, what's happening? Or like when that cop, oh my gosh, that cop's like, no problem, Truman. I'd be like,
oh yes,
I would have called him out in that moment. I'd be like, how the fudge you know my name? Like, how does he know my name? And then there's like, oh, it's fine, honey. He just saw a new name tag. And then I'd start choking her. Somebody do
those
something.
were the little things where he started to pick up that something was wrong. But yeah, I guess he doesn't actually figure it out on his own, the narrator.
And
or
it's
the
hard
director
too
has
because
to
it's
tell
like,
him, but
obviously it's easy for us because we're like, oh, dude, you're on a TV show. But it's like, if something suspicious is happening around you, is the first thing you assume that your whole entire life is a TV show? Probably not.
I would have. Just kidding.
Yeah, because like you'd probably assume like maybe, oh, I don't know, like people are like trying to hide something from you or something like that, instead of like, oh, like everyone is paid actors in my life.
Yeah, the specificity of this is a TV show. We've created a huge set. What they say, the only set that can be seen from satellite or something.
From space.
Yeah.
The biggest man-made besides the
Great Wall of China.
Wall, I don't know. Yeah.
Any other nitpicks or other comments?
I mean, I already mentioned it. Him seeing the girl. I mean, you know, at the very end, like the idea, and I
thought it was funny. Yeah, she's like running down the stairs as if she's gonna go like find him and fall in love, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it would have worked out, but who knows? Like, that's a whole nother story, right? And it's like, what is he going to do now that he's outside the world? Like, the adapting to that society, you know?
And that's, I think, is a really good thing about this movie. It's kind of similar to Prisoners. It's like, what really like great movies do it to where you want a sequel, but you don't want a sequel because you want to see more. But I'm like, I know they would ruin it if they did more. Yeah,
I mean, it's like, well, and the interesting part too is they cut a scene, but they started to talk about it, and he said, you know, looking for a new landmark in television of showing the first on-air. They were actually there's another scene where they talk about how they were going to use his child to be the next Truman Show.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and to keep the show running. So they were going to have him die there, and then they were going to have his son essentially continue the show, which is just crazy.
Also, I was like confused on like some of the logistics of like what they did when he was like going to the bathroom, and because they kind of mentioned when they were like, oh, they don't show anything. They always play music and go to a different room. But for the bathroom, I'm like, they have the camera in the mirror, and I'm like, and how do they know when and when he's not like doing certain stuff and when he is clothed?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, somebody else is spying on him. Obviously, maybe the director's like, oh, I got to see everything.
Yeah, I'm like,
and then he probably just, you know, they only cut to the bathroom when he's not doing something.
The way he caresses that screen, it makes you think that he's seen it or something. What the fudge, weirdo.
Well, it's like, I mean, he literally essentially has the power of God where he controls everything in this man's life. So, I mean, he has a God complex. Like, he literally essentially
change the weather.
Yeah, he literally controls the weather. So, and I love too when the guy's sitting there, his friend, and he's like,
Fox?
he's like, that's the big man, and he's looking at the beautiful sunset, and he's literally talking about the guy upstairs, you know.
If I don't really have a nitpick. My only nitpick would be I would have loved more details. So if they made this a 10-hour movie, I wouldn't have complained. But that's not really a good idea.
So you think this should be made into a 10-episode Netflix show?
Sure. I just want to get more details of like like the wife. Like I'd want to the actress that plays the wife, but not the real actress Laura Linney, but the actress in the show. I'd want more interviews of her like, so explain the logistics of this. Were you guys actually legally married? How do you justify, like, just what do you do? Do you take time for yourself in the day? And then I'd want to interview the mom. Also, the actress that plays the mom in the show, not the real actress. Ask her, like, what are your emotional things going on about this? Like, being his mother, and I'd want to, like, dig deep and find out.
My biggest question is, like, how can you
really
live with yourself telling your son that his father drowned.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues.
Well, she's not his actual mother.
Yeah, but she's still like
lying to him and saying, I'm your mother and your father died. It's like, how could you tell a kid that? Like,
she's still like, even if she does not if she does not love him and if she doesn't care at all about how he's being treated, she still was able to act like a loving mother for many years, and not just like, oh, go to work for 8 hours. It's like during the
classic women,
Truman's raising up years, she was there around him 24/7. Like, so I just would be so curious to psychoanalyze those actors within the show.
Yeah, a bunch of sickos.
Yeah. Well, I think he showed everything you needed to see. Like, these are all fun things. And I mean, yes, I think you could make it into a TV show. The more you talk about it, I'm like, yeah, I'd be very curious to see those things. But I think he literally showed everything you needed to see on screen.
Yeah.
And it was told so well.
So well.
Yeah. Like, it was such a tight film. I feel like there was nothing that I felt like there was like, oh, I wish they didn't have this.
Needed to learn this, but they didn't.
I think one of my favorite scenes was, I think honestly, that's the only sort of pass I'll give to the fact that he was so in love with that girl. Is there something about like being told what you can't have? And I think just the fact that like they were like pushing her away and like she just like was mysteriously being like,
it made him want her more. The fact that he couldn't have her,
But see, that's the one thing is like, if they didn't want her around, that was the only thing I didn't understand, why she was in the library right next to him.
Well, see, Cameron, that's the thing is like, I feel like with if we're talking about the color coding personalities, like you're a yellow, and so like somebody with your type of personality, like Truman, an explorer, somebody who doesn't want to be told what to do, I think you would have a huge problem with this world. The problem with me is I feel like I don't care about traveling. I don't care.
Oh yeah, I would go nuts.
I'd be fine in this world.
Well, I would just question things. Like anytime someone's like, show me something, I'm like, what the like? For example, like all the things when he saw the people on break, I'd be like, what the fudge was that? And he's way too easily satisfied with certain answers that I'm like, oh no. And see, I love it how he like started playing it cool. We're like, oh, he's back to his usual self, and I'm like, oh yeah, he definitely is not back to his usual self. He's like, that's some 200 IQ stuff right there playing, where he's like, no, I'm not letting you guys freaking torture me anymore. And I can't believe he's been like digging his way out. I didn't that was the only thing I'm like, did he start digging in that moment, or had he been digging for a while? Was he suspicious for a while? That was the only thing too.
I think he did it all that day. I think he made a plan in his head of like, okay, tomorrow night I'm gonna dig my way out, or tonight or whatever. That's my theory. I don't know.
Yeah, but he was a smart man.
Yep.
But yeah, any other comments or quotes from the movie?
And now I'm remembering when he's out on the water and they give him a storm, he's like, you're gonna have to kill me, or something.
Yeah, he's like, is that all you got? What can you do with a drunken sailor?
He was so determined at that point to leave whatever he was in.
Early in the morning. Oh yeah, it was overall great.
Huh?
Would you recommend? Absolutely.
Yes.
And family friendly.
100%.
Easy. And then we end every podcast by talking about what we've seen lately and what we're looking forward to. Tatiana, do you want to talk about what you've seen lately and what you're looking forward to?
We've been watching this, what's it called? Midnight Mass?
Uh-huh.
Well, I haven't watched I haven't been able to pay attention to every single part of it, and we only have one episode left, and it is intense. Oh my goodness. We've also been watching The Office, well, before that, but it's been a while since we watched The Office, but we for several weeks we're watching it every day. And before that we watched, what was that show? Oh, Last Man on Earth. Love that show and love The Office. And this will be controversial, Cameron. I watched Jingle All the Way, not on my recent Hawaii trip, but on a trip before that.
I watched Jingle All the Way today. Let's continue.
And because I downloaded it on the phone so that I could have something to watch on my trip to Texas, and I could not handle it. I skipped forward, and then I came home and Jordan's like, we love that show.
Well, okay, but you need to know, if you look on Rotten Tomatoes anywhere, you're in the majority. Most people do not like it.
But I can totally see, when she says I can see how it would be fun with your family. Everyone would have a lot of fun, laughing at it.
I just watched it with mom and dad, and they were dying, especially Sinbad.
Oh, imagining them laughing at it, that would make it so much more enjoyable. Yeah, watching it with you guys.
Tricycle? No, you can't. Your dad's been laid off.
Yeah, because I'm a huge Power Rangers fan. I grew up watching it, and so the kid getting into the action of it's turbo time. Like, that's so us growing up. Just so you know, you get so excited about toys and Christmas and just the consumerism. And Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And just Ted and how annoying he is.
And I love how we picture Arnold Schwarzenegger as this, like, dad figure, which it's like...
The most average-looking bodybuilder from Austria.
Yeah, I know, right? He's like nothing like it.
It's kind of like The Rock of, like, they always joke about The Rock, like, just your average-looking father who's built like a freaking truck.
Fun fact, he is the dad of the lady that's currently married to Chris Pratt. Did you know that, Cameron?
I did.
Oh, okay. Carry on. Oh, also, I've been watching kid shows because I've been around my nieces and nephew. So I've watched Moana quite a bit.
Fun.
And also this one is called like dump truck, trash truck, something. And there's like a bunch of episodes, and I saw one episode, and it was actually like good visuals.
Except it's not SpongeBob though.
It's not SpongeBob, no. And it has the guy who plays Kevin on The Office, Bill Bardinger or whatever. He's one of the voices.
Oh, no way.
So I don't know. I want to kind of look into that more.
Nice. Jordan, what about you? Watch anything different? Or what are you looking forward to, Tatiana? Anything special?
I just want to find more kid shows. Just kidding.
We saw Spider-Man together, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, I also saw that.
Thoughts?
I would love...
Don't spoil, but thoughts.
Oh, that one. It was really fun. I've only seen a couple of Spider-Man movies in the past, and one of them I watched a lot growing up, and it was fun to see...
Don't spoil, Karen hasn't seen it.
Toby's in it.
It was fun to see this show. That's all I'm saying. It was fun to see a Spider-Man again after all those years.
I knew Toby would be
And there were some parts that were really funny and made me laugh. And as far as in the future, for Christmas coming up, I'd love to, if we watched Elf and or The Grinch, but mostly Elf.
Solid. Jordan, you watched anything different than Tatiana?
Yes, I watched a lot of stuff while I was working. So I re-listened to Jim Gaffigan's Obsessed. Very funny special. Jim Gaffigan is hilarious. And he's poking fun at a lot of things that my wife loves.
Like weddings.
Yeah, he's just poking fun at weddings. Because, I mean, if you get me started on weddings, it's just like, oh, jeez. And then I watched Delirious, which has got Steve Buscemi. And I like his dynamic with this guy from Funny Games. But interesting show. It's about a paparazzi and just kind of a sleazy character. Because that's, I guess, how kind of... Not all paparazzis, I imagine, are sleazy, but this one was.
Just Nightcrawler.
I don't even know if you call him a paparazzi.
He's just a psycho reporter.
Okay, a reporter, yeah. Because, like, film and photography...
paparazzi's technically like, a reporter. It's just, like, very...
That's true. It all goes in news. It's like one's just newspaper and the other one's news. Or... I guess digital news. So
yeah.
And then I've been rewatching Third Rock from the Sun. Very funny TV show. I love the main character. Totally reminds me of Tyler. Holy crap! If I can remember his name, Dick Solomon. Oh, sorry, that's his character name, but his name's John Lithgow. He's the Lord Farquaad from Shrek.
No way.
He reminds me so much of Tyler. He looks in the mirror. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm gorgeous. I'm like, oh, that's Tyler. And then I just rewatched Clash of the Titans. I love this movie. Like, it doesn't have great ratings, but I love both the original and the new remake. Cameron, so we were joking about how I cry on the treadmill, but I was actually watching this movie when I was crying, and I rewatched it and I start crying again. I'm like, it must just be this movie. Like, there's something that makes me feel like a little child.
Triggers the
when I watch
endorphins and just...
I just get a high from watching it. I started Animatrix, not really my thing, because I'm getting excited about The Matrix. I can't wait to watch the new one coming out this week. And then watch Nebraska, which I'm excited to recommend to Ty. It's got Will Forte and Bob Odenkirk and the military guy from The Burbs. Very good movie. Holy crap. I rewatched Ad Astra. I watched Jarhead. Have you seen that one yet, Cameron?
I have not.
Really? Of your boy...
Brad Pitt.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
What?
No, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Is Jake Gyllenhaal? Jarhead?
Yeah, it's a war movie, and it's the same guy that directed 1917.
Really?
Sam Mendes.
I have not.
It's a war movie. I think you're going to want to watch it, Cameron. I think it's pretty depressing. I mean, for as far as war movies go, but I wasn't crazy about it. But
Jamie Foxx? Interesting.
Yeah, I think you would like it.
I like Jamie Foxx.
I didn't love it. It's just kind of a depressing story. And then Lady Killers.
As our majority of Jake's films.
Yeah, right? Yeah, his performance amazing, obviously. But Lady Killers, not the best Coen Brothers movie, but I actually really love it. I need to watch the original just to see the reasons I love it. I'm like, maybe that's just because that was in the original, but once I watch the original, then I'll be like, oh, okay, the original's better. But who knows? I might actually just still love this version of it, because Tom Hanks's performance, just his laugh, he like does this really weird breath.
That's funny.
Like, it's just funny. And then I rewatched Drive, amazing movie. I rewatched Jingle All the Way as well, Cameron.
So
oh my gosh,
good.
I love it so much. And then I watched a documentary recommended by YMS called Catfish. I just cried and cried at the end. Powerful documentary. Hopefully we'll talk about it someday. I watched Jack Frost, and not the one with Michael Keaton, but the horror one.
What?
And it has the same, so it's a serial killer that gets trapped inside of a snowman's body, and it's just bad. But there's a few funny moments, and the villain is actually the drill instructor in Jarhead, and Jarhead has an amazing opening scene that totally reminds me, and it has to be a reminiscent of, I mean, maybe not, but because I guess a lot of drill sergeants are just like this, Vince Vaughn and Hacksaw Ridge. And this military guy, he's the same villain in Jack Frost, but he plays the military instructor in Jarhead, and his performance is pretty great, Cameron. If you don't watch the whole Jarhead movie, just watch the opening scene. It's really good.
Okay.
And then Ty's been begging me to watch North by Northwest. I'll talk with him about it, but really good movie. The opening is amazing, and it'll grip you, and you're in it for the rest of the movie. Reminds me of The Game. I don't love the ending as much as the beginning, but it's very good. And then I re-listened to Barry Lyndon. Wow, what a tragic movie. It's so depressing. It's just lots of terrible people, but that's a Stanley Kubrick movie. And I re-listened to Invasions of the Body Snatchers, which I watched. Oh, I think I already talked about this. Have I talked about this one? It has Jeff Goldblum and Donald Sutherland. Yeah, I'd already talked about this, but great movie.
Awesome. Lots of movies.
Oh, and I watched Spider-Man. Have mixed feelings.
Okay.
I liked it. I will say I liked it. I just feel like they're tugging at my heartstrings, Disney.
What do you mean?
Well, I just feel like it's kind of manipulative to be like, oh, you like this, right? Oh, and you like this? And I'm like, yes, I do like that. It just felt like a reunion. Kind of like they're making on HBO, which I'm kind of interested to watch it. It's like a reunion of all the Harry Potter characters that have gotten back together. And just like the reunion of Lord of the Rings, they did that on Skype, and I just cried. So it's just like, I cried in Spider-Man. So I feel like they're tugging at all my like nostalgic feelings of being a kid. And it's good.
Just like being manipulated and having his money taken from his pocket.
I know. I'm like, gosh darn you, Disney. Sorry, Cameron, your turn.
No, great.
Now that you're on vacation, I'm sure you've been cranking these movies out, cheap.
Yeah, I have been. I didn't get started until about Sunday, but Saturday. But since Saturday, man, I've been cranking. I watched Men in Black on Saturday for the first time because it was in Ty's top 100. And so I was like,
you haven't seen it? No, oh, man.
Because I'd just seen Men in Black 3.
Even I've seen it.
I saw Men in Black 3 as a kid, but then I was just like, I don't know, not my cup of tea.
I said even I have seen it. Oh. Okay, but you said it was not your cup of tea?
No, Men in Black 3 wasn't my cup of tea. The first one was fun.
Oh.
And then after that, watched The Terminator.
I watched Sugar Water, Cameron.
Yeah.
And he pulls the skin back.
Yeah, creepiest mofo. And then watched Terminator 1 and 2 with Mom because I hadn't seen those.
Which of the two are your favorite? I'm kind of curious.
Oh, it'd be Bob.
Terminator 2 is definitely better. Terminator 2 was in Ty's top 100, and that was the reason I wanted to watch the Terminators. So I watched those two. It was really fun to watch with the mom.
That's so funny you guys are watching like movies that are in your top 100. That's so great.
Yeah, that's why you need to finish your top 100 so I can fetch and watch everything in yours, nerd.
Yeah, but I don't think you're going to like everything in mine.
I'm aware I'm not going to like everything in yours. And then I watched Jingle All the Way, Truman Show, and then I also watched Deadpool. So funny.
But Cameron, you can't tell me in the first one though of Terminator when he comes in and says, "I'll be back," and then he just smashes
the car.
into.
Yeah. Oh no,
Wasn't it amazing?
It's definitely really good, but
how about that cheesy eye cutting scene, Cameron?
Oh yeah, every single scene when they're doing that, and I'm like, I could literally see the mask on, but okay. But yeah, the second one's a really good job. Like, it aged well. I was impressed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the action's great, dude. When he spins that shotgun,
oh, it's so
holy
satisfying.
crap! I get chills. Yeah. So awesome. That semi flies off that double deck. That was dope.
I just think of Hunt for the Wilder People every single time. I'm like the Terminator. No, you're more like Sarah Connor in the first movie before she could do chin-ups. And but yeah, I love because I'd watched Just Friends this weekend as well. And I love, what's his name? Ryan Reynolds. And I think he's at his peak when he's in our movies. He's very When he's the only PG-13 that I'm like, wow, he was like amazing in was Free Guy. I thought he was really good because that even there were some jokes in there that I was like, this is borderline PG-13. But he's, I think, at his prime when he's allowed to use all his language and stuff. But he's so funny in Deadpool, and I loved just because like one of my guilty pleasures is just comedy and superhero, so it's kind of fun to have a good combo of both of them. Nothing like too amazing, solid 8 out of 10 for me, but I just really loved how they kind of made fun of a lot of superhero movies.
Nothing too amazing. It's just 8 out of 10. That's a pretty high rating, Cameron.
It is, but
Isn't Deadpool the movie where Blake Lively was his co-star, and that's like what started their friendship, which turned into dating, which turned into marriage?
I don't think Blake Lively's in that movie.
She's not in Deadpool?
I don't think so.
Okay, never mind.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, she's not in that. Yeah, get your facts right. My wife was bashing me about Nightcrawler. I said
so ashamed.
Fergie
I got
was in
celebrity
it.
gossip wrong. Yeah, Nightcrawler. They said it was Fergie, and I was like,
I was wrong.
no.
All I know is I'm excited to watch Deadpool 2 tonight.
You haven't seen Deadpool 2 yet?
No, I watched Deadpool 1 for the first time. I watched,
Oh, that was your first time?
yeah. I watched like 30 minutes of Deadpool 2 on a boat on the Amazon River on my mission with Chinese subtitles and no audio. Well, it was just it was
You're
just
going to
on the
recognize Cameron, the kid in it
boat.
now.
I know from
'cause-
Come for the Wilder People.
Yeah, you probably didn't recognize him the first time you saw it.
But yes, I'm excited to watch it, and I'm also excited I want to try to see Spider-Man hopefully this week sometime. I'm surprised I haven't gotten too much spoiled for me yet, but I'm kind of going in with medium expectations. I've heard really good things, but at the same time I'm not exactly expecting too much after they kind of bombed having Jake Gyllenhaal and somehow still managed to make an average Spider-Man. But I was like, okay.
No, it was really good. I'm excited.
What, the one with Jake Gyllenhaal or the most recent one?
No, the most recent one. I think you're going to love it. I mean, I loved it too. I was kind of bummed I didn't see it with you. I thought you had already seen it, so I didn't invite you. Sorry.
Green Lantern. That's what they're in together.
Oh,
Green
yeah.
Lantern.
That's
She's
where
a
they
pilot.
met and fell in love. So
Well, I think they were already friends or something by that time, but then their friendship grew deeper, and then they dated at some point.
that's
I love
hilarious.
their
So,
relationship.
I mean, he can't be completely mad at Green Lantern.
Green Lantern, yeah.
Because wasn't that in the ending of the first one, Cameron, where he shot himself?
Oh, I don't know. It might have been a post-credit scene, but he said...
You didn't see the post-credit, Cameron. Go back and watch the post-credits now.
Okay, well, it's funny because he does, while he's being tortured, he's like, just please don't make the super suit green. Please don't make it green.
Well, wait, does he have the time travel thing in the first one or the second one?
It's definitely not first.
Oh, never mind. The post-credits is going to be in the second one. Sorry, bud.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Because just the post-credits of the
Live-
first one was him, like, unicorn and stuff.
That's right.
And I was like,
Lively first met Ryan Reynolds in early 2010 while filming Green Lantern, in which they co-starred. They began dating on October 2011 and married on September 9th, 2012 at Boone Hall Plantation in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. The couple have 3 daughters. Bye.
You haven't seen Deadpool, right?
No.
Maybe we should watch that. That's a good one.
it was fun. And I was surprised. Like, besides, like, that one thing, there was, like, less than I was expecting.
Apparently, Stan Lee was pretty upset that because he was on a green screen. He didn't know they put him in like a place.
Oh, yeah.
He was really upset about that because they didn't tell him.
Really?
Yeah, they're just like, I just need you to say this. You're at a DJ place.
Oh, my gosh, that's terrible.
I know. He was mad. He was really upset because obviously he writes good, clean. I don't know if he wrote Deadpool. Did he write Deadpool?
I don't think so. That's very Deadpool of them, though.
I know, right?
I loved it when they're introducing it was like directed by some overpaid douchebag, and it's like starring this preppy like Hollywood person, and they're just like making fun of like, I don't know. I thought it was very like self-aware and fun, and I love how he like is like invincible in his relationship with the black lady, and she's like,
Cameron, you should watch the Honest trailers afterwards.
Love is blind. No, you're blind.
Because Cameron, you should watch the Honest trailers because he actually comes on the Honest trailer to talk.
No way.
Yeah, it's pretty great. They have Ryan Reynolds on it.
Check it out.
All right, cheap.
This has been Future Hidden Movie Gems podcast. You can check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, all the social medias. And this is Future Hidden Movie Gems. Give us a like, share us, give us a retweet. And this is Future Hidden Movie Gems signing out. Peace.
Now that's a beer.
Bye.